What is up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Ruckus Wrastlin. I am obviously joined by my great tag team partner in this show, Justin Toner. Justin, how are we doing today?
Doing great. Just got home not too long ago from watching Roddy Piper kick Alien Butt in They Live 35th anniversary screening. Very appropriate. It's like it sucks that he's gone,
Right.
but we can
Yeah.
enjoy a lot of his work, especially his movie, especially a movie like that.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm
Is this like?
excited. We got so much to talk about. So much has happened in the last week.
Yeah. So let's just
Both
jump
good and
right
bad.
in. Um, CM Punk is no longer employed at AEW. For those that haven't lived under a rock, I
Gone.
mean, even every major publication has covered it that I can think of. I saw one that was saying that they were comparing to his firing as much as Trump getting indicted. I'm like, this is where we are. Okay, that's new. But Justin, just kind of obviously we knew about the suspensions and stuff that happened in the All Brawl. It's always All In. I don't know what it is, but it's always something with All In. 2 years in a row, CM Punk and somebody got into an altercation. But just fill us in about what all kind of transpired, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, so this is what we know for certain because there's a lot of click reports about some of the minute details of what exactly happened backstage. But here's the gist of it. For quick background, um, there's reports that on a recent episode of Collision, wrestler Jack Perry, formerly known as Jungle Boy, um, wanted to do a spot where with going through glass that was real glass apparently, and that apparently got improved somehow by some people. Don't know why they would do that. That's extremely dangerous. It's like just ask Goldberg, who fudged up his arm really good by punching through real glass windows on a limo on Nitro. It just destroyed his arm and put him on the shelf for months, which really hurt WCW at the time. Um, and CM Punk was like, "No, you are not doing that. That's stupid," and kind of happening. So, so that happened. So then we get to Wembley Stadium, the All In show. On the pre-show, Perry was wrestling Hook for the FTW titles, part of their ongoing feud. And at one point in the match, uh, he takes him over to a car to dump him on the car. Using the car as kind of like a prop weapon. Perry goes over, taps the glass, and looks directly at the camera and goes, "Real glass." And so everyone was like, "Oh, okay. I guess he's taking a little shot at Punk there." Well, definitely Punk thought so because their match was the last match of the pre-show before the show was supposed to start. Now, the CM Punk versus Samoa Joe was the opening match of the pay-per-view. And so CM Punk and Samoa Joe were in the gorilla position waiting to go out to open the pay-per-view. Jack Perry came up into the gorilla position. Punk saw him, and they had words over what Perry did with the real glass comment, which that was not something that was scripted or approved. It was him obviously taking a pot shot over Punk kiboshing thing he wanted to do. Uh, the words were heated, and before you know it, both men got into a physical fight that had to be broken up. Um, who started it? Who threw the first punch? As some people said, Punk started it. Other people said Perry started it. Seems more people saying Punk kind of started it because he was really going after Perry for taking a pot shot at him, saying, like, you don't have a problem with me. And so it got physical. Apparently, he put him in like a headlock. Had to be broken up. Punk was uber pissed off. told yelled at Tony. Monitors apparently were knocked over. Is the word in front of Tony. And like Punk didn't want to go out to the match. Was like, I'm done with this shit. I want out of here. I quit. What all that jazz. Credit to Samoa Joe, who went to Punk. They go way back and got him to calm down and convinced him to go out to do the match like they were supposed to. And they did. They did the match. And after it was over, Perry was immediately asked to leave the building after what happened. Punk left not long, about an hour after Perry was escorted out after his match. He was gone. So this was all got out, after the pay-per-view. Tony did not want to comment on it. Just said that, something happened and it was going to be investigated. People were speculating what was going to happen. It's like, this was not a good look. Once again, Punk gets into a backstage altercation with other talent. It's like, just like he did last year with the Omega and the Bucks, the Elite, which led to all kinds of problems, and them all getting suspended for a while. And then on Saturday, the day before the All Out pay-per-view in Chicago, CM Punk's hometown, before Collision aired, also in Chicago, Tony Khan and AEW released a statement saying that they, due to the investigation on the incident that happened, they decided to fire CM Punk and terminate his contract with cause. And that sent quite the shockwave through the internet wrestling world. Tony went out in front of the Chicago crowd, give him credit to give the statement about why he, chose to decide. He had talked to the disciplinary committee and they gave a recommendation. He said that he felt that his life was actually in danger during the whole incident. And he thanked, he called him by his real name, Phil Brooks, CM Punk's real legal name, for everything he'd done for AEW, but he felt that this was straw that broke the camel's back and that he had to let him go and fire him. And that threw probably a planned match between him and Starks out the window at the pay-per-view. And they quickly pretty much probably like broke glass somewhere, like call Bryan Danielson to bail us out. Yes. Because on Collision, Bryan Danielson showed up and basically took Punk's place in a match with Stark on the pay-per-view, set up by Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. He tricked Starks into signing a contract to face the Dragon in a strap match at the pay-per-view, and Starks thought that was Ricky, and he's like, no, you're not facing this Dragon, you're dealing with the American Dragon. And that's when Danielson came out to a massive pop. Apparently he got cleared to wrestle just this week. We'll get into more of that about his match on the pay-per-view, because apparently he's cleared to wrestle, but he's still not 100%. So this was definitely, we need to scramble and fix this, because they didn't want to leave Starks, hanging, because of this whole situation, because him and Punk have been feuding for the last month or so. After the pay-per-view, people were asking questions. Tony kind of dodged one earlier, but then later he just reiterated that, there was, because someone asked if, there was any kind of like, non-compete clause. And he said that no, it wouldn't really apply in this situation. And he also mentioned that Jack Perry did not escape punishment either. He is suspended indefinitely at this time. So who knows when that suspension will be lifted. So, he did not escape punishment. It's like he may or may not have started it, but he definitely was, partly the cause of this whole situation. So he thank whether you agree with Tony's decision to fire CM Punk or not, uh, Perry being suspended indefinitely is also the right move. It's like there was two to tango in this whole situation, and you know, it's like it wasn't all CM Punk's fault. It's like he was at fault as well, and so it's that punishment is well deserved at this point. I could consider because apparently he's got an attitude problem as well, besides CM Punk. Um, yeah, this whole situation is unfortunate. Between what happened before, uh, other backstage issues, him taking pot shots at Hangman after Collision, and then this, I totally understand. Tony was like, "All right, this no, I can't put up with this anymore." It's like he had to drop the hammer, and it sucks. It sucks for AEW fans. It also sucks for CM Punk, honestly. But he's whether definitely the elite and him because word is getting out that he tried to mend the fences, but it's like the Bucks and were not willing to want to really bury the hatchet, which is unfortunate because if they had been able to work things out, maybe this might not have led to more problems backstage. Because people are taking sides. There's people that were on CM Punk's side and other people were on the elite side. So now you got people taking sides, and it's really unfortunate. Just a complete mess. Horrible way for CM Punk's time in AEW to end. His 2-year run ends with him being unceremoniously fired, and I'll just say that I miss a lot of CM Punk stuff. I wouldn't say like I'm like a fan of his, but I respected his work ethic and his contributions to the world of wrestling. So I'm a little bit more objective because I know that people who are diehard Punk fans are obviously not happy about this whole situation, but some of it is definitely not his fault. I think and he's been criticized by a lot of people, and I'm also criticized that Tony Khan has does some good things, but also he's obviously made some questionable decisions, and the way he has handled some things backstage have not been the best, and allowing the whole thing with the elite and Punk to not be properly settled is a problem that hopefully he will learn from this, and hopefully this stuff like this, because these kind of things is what can, if these kind of things can keep happening, this is what can kill a promotion, and we don't want that. It's like AEW has been a good, very, very good thing for professional wrestling. It's like if WWE finally has, there's someone since WCW went under, has there been a legit number 2 alternative choice in watching wrestling. The WWE does not have the monopoly on pro wrestling. Yes, yes, there's other companies, blah blah, but it's like WWE is clearly the numero uno with like their reach, their money, and everything. And so AEW coming along is great because it gives the other wrestlers a place to go who can't, are not interested in WWE, or they spend time in WWE and they want to try something else. It's like it's good all around. And so these kind of things can lead to problems, and hopefully we all hope that Tony learned from this lesson, and hopefully something like this will not happen again anytime soon. One of the things that helped sink WCW was a lot of the backstage drama. It's like it wasn't all of it, but it definitely was a contributing factor to why it went under. So
yeah,
that's what I'm on it. This is a really unfortunate thing, but I understand. I completely understand Tony's reasoning and justification for why he did this.
Yeah, I mean it's basically a fool me once, fool me twice type of thing. And so I think at this point, I know Tony was trying to do everything he could, but it was just at the point where it's getting to the point where the kind of inmates are under the asylum type
Yeah,
of thing. I mean, maybe that's possibly the reason where the only time that we know of, in my opinion, because he'll never talk about it, but that's part of the reason why the only time that I think Tony ever put his foot down was really taking creative away from Cody. So he'll never say it for years, but that's my theory on the other reason. He just wanted to go back to WWE and do because that's where he originally started out. But you don't create your own company and then just leave when your contract is up the first time.
yeah, it's
but that, I mean, it's
even though
partial
Cody
that.
has not, yeah, even though Cody has not said, and he said he will not give the specifics on why he chose to leave AEW. It was definitely basically like a creative differences I think kind of thing between him and Tony. It was not a problem with the Elite. He and the Elite are still good friends. He's good friends still.
They
with
just
the
signed a
Bucks.
new contract.
You know, it wasn't all that.
Re-up.
It's very clear, especially if you watch the recent Cody Rhodes documentary on Peacock on the network. He and Brandy definitely imply, without saying it, that part of the reason why they both left is related to Tony. So some kind of disagreement came up that they couldn't get past, and he also WWE is his home, and he wanted to go back home and be the top guy, get the opportunity to be the top guy that he didn't get when he was there the first time. And so,
as I said,
it's like it's worked out great for him. It's worked out great for WWE. So, but yeah, it's
just, but it stinks. I mean, obviously, and then of course, kind of going to it. Gift, thanks for joining. I mean, that is some people would say the wrestling community is kind of split because you have those big CM Punk. He can do no wrong. To me, but his other than to me, I still go back and watch. Someone made a vignette. It was a really good vignette of him and MJF's feud. But it brought out the best in Punk. So because MJF is
that feud. Chris Taylor is 100% right. The best part of Punk's run in AEW was his feud with MJF. The promos, the whole thing was like fantastic. Everything else was kind of like up and down. It's like and all this backstage drama. First with Elite, and then now with the Perry that led to him getting fired. It's like there's word people are saying that Punk will make some kind of statement in response to being fired. It'll be very interesting to see what he says when he decides to finally talk about what happened, because he has been completely radio silent. He has not posted anything on social media or said anything to anybody since he was fired last Saturday. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens when he does decide to speak out.
He's probably hurting, and just by a lot of times, when it took him how long to get on Colt Cabana's show to talk exactly what happened with the WWE situation, and then that led to a legal dispute of that show.
That led to a whole legal kerfuffle, and also a falling out between him and Colt Cabana that has never been repaired.
I mean, but he still has. I mean, FT. We'll talk about it as far as like the entrances that FTR and I think someone else kind of made as a little tribute to Punk. And then if you don't think that he's still not over, once Tony Khan came out, there was about 800. I just saw a blurb. I don't need to pull it up, but there was about 800,000 people watching at the time. And then he comes out and says CM Punk is no longer. He makes the announcement saying CM Punk is no longer on the company, and they lose about 240,000 right then and there. I
mean, like Tony was getting booed out of the building like he was like Don Callis or Dominic Mysterio. It's like the fans were not happy, and they were putting all of their anger and frustration about those situations on Tony, because he made it clear that this was his call to fire CM Punk. So he took the brunt. It's like that's not an easy thing to do, because he had to know going out there fans were gonna be all over him over this. So that takes a lot of guts to especially in Chicago. Now,
Right.
people were wondering like how would the fans be for both Collision and for the pay-per-view with CM Punk being fired, because it's like we've seen over. I mean, we saw what happened after he left WWE. Is like fans were pretty salty, and even over the years, occasionally you get CM Punk chants as a screw you, toward WWE, but thankfully, because of just the quality of the show and also the quality of we'll get to the specifics of the matches. All Out was a pretty heck of a show with some incredible matches, and the fans, to their credit, didn't let their if they were still up, a lot of them were definitely obviously not happy about what happened with CM Punk, but they didn't let that stop them from enjoying the show.
Yeah,
thankfully.
and I mean, I already left my 2 cents. No, last week when I'm making that big rant of how we had we again 2 times in a row we had such a great all out show, and it was ruined by backstage stuff. Unfortunately, CM Punk was rated at both on that. But then I was, as far as how you're supposed to do it, I'm glad at least if he made his decision, it had to be before that first show, because then you would have the crowd take it over, chanting CM Punk the whole time, just killing
Exactly.
good matches and all that stuff. So he addressed it, had him boo him, which you knew it was going to come. You did it in Chicago. And then the show went on, so they knew that all right, it's over, it's done with. So you didn't have them.
It was the right move to let the fans get out their frustration over the whole situation, and to give them enough time to calm down so that they would not hijack and ruin both Collision and the pay-per-view. And so him announcing the firing when he did was the right move to avoid that nightmare scenario. One of the most infamous scenarios of that situation was what happened at WCW when Ric Flair butted heads with Jim Herd, who was running WCW at the time, and back in 1991, which led to him getting fired and walking out on the promotion with the title belt, which led to the amazing angle when he first came to WWF as the real world champion, which was my first real introduction to Ric Flair, and where I fell in love with him, ironically, because I'd never watched any NWA or WCW before that. Which led to a lot of people wondering, what is WWE going to do? Would they want to bring CM Punk back now because of this, or are they just not interested? And whether or not they are interested, I'll just say this: they could probably find a way to use this to their advantage, obviously, because Punk would want to take pot shots at AEW and Tony Khan, over him getting fired and everything, but at this point, WWE doesn't need him. They're doing just fine with who they got right now. It's like, Roman draws, Cody draws, Seth draws. It's like they got talent that draws, and they're making plenty of money.
And they're booking them correctly.
It's not like they're desperate. They're not. It's like they're not desperate. So it's more, if he really wanted to continue wrestling, it's more Punk would need them, and not the other way around. And there's some people there that wouldn't want him to be there. And I'm not just talking about Vince. It's like Vince may, unless he's kind of softened how he feels. I know Triple H would probably be open to it. I mean, he was recently, a couple months ago, before he came back from his suspension, he visited a WWE Raw backstage, visited with a couple of the wrestlers, talked to The Miz, who he had a falling out with, and apparently everyone said that they kind of like buried the hatchet. And then he talked to Triple H, and Triple H then let him know that you probably should leave the building before Vince has them force him to leave. And so that was very interesting, because people are wondering, like, is he trying to like mend fences for the WWE there? In case for something on the line, who knows? It's very possible. But
Yeah.
I mean, like just a couple months ago, Seth Rollins in an interview made it clear he don't want Punk there at all. He considers him a cancer. He literally said he is a cancer. We do not want him or need him here.
It did not, and it did not seem very kayfabe. It seemed more shootish.
No, that was not kayfabe. That was seemed like that was Seth shooting than being real. So it's like that. It's like he was not. He made it. It's like he seemed like he was very serious. He was not joking around.
Yeah.
That
do you
like,
think?
No,
Yes, but do you think? Because I mean, the rumor was back when CM Punk just got to a certain point in WWE, he came in acting like the locker room leader, and they were still the Undertaker, like all of them, and they were like, "What do you think you're doing, kid?" Type of thing in WWE, and so that probably didn't start out very well. And I'm pretty sure the Miz was kind of a little jealous because the Miz had to stay outside of a locker room for like 6 months straight just because JBL's a bully. That's right, I said it, but But
no, this is well documented. And it's like, and he's talked about it. It's like, Miz got treated like shit by some people, and JBL especially, and which is not cool. It's like, so it's who knows? You never know. In wrestling, you never know. People thought, God, with the falling out they had, that Ultimate Warrior will never ever come back to WWE. He came back. Bret Hart. After what happened at Montreal, he mended fences with Vince and came back.
Yeah.
So if those kind of people who had major falling out with Vince, especially someone like Bret Hart, after what happened, what Vince did to him, where he literally screwed him on live on pay-per-view, can like forgive Vince and WWE and come back, anything is possible. I doubt it, but it could happen. You never know.
No.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Chris Taylor. Punk needs pro wrestling. Pro wrestling doesn't need Punk. No, not at this point. And I don't know what's going on with him, because it seems like he's got some thin skin or something, or it's like he's got some stuff to work out with
him and Jack Perry both. That was just weird. That has to be more to it that he told you.
Yeah, exactly. I'm very disappointed. I'm very disappointed in Perry, because it seemed like he's a good dude, but obviously he's got some kind of attitude problem with the way that he reacted to this whole situation with Punk, and that's why I said he absolutely deserved to be suspended as a consequence of this whole mess. So
and like, I know some people have come out and said like, oh well, the reason he is because he's a nepo baby, and maybe that has to do with. But the thing is, unlike Cody Rhodes, he and Rock and Roman Reigns, he was indie. Like he cut his
exactly. He worked his way up.
Like he worked his way up, and he wasn't even offered anything because he was too small. He wasn't that and he was basically told you were never going to make it as a big star. AEW starts. We wouldn't have Jack Perry if it wasn't for AEW.
Yeah, Cody didn't start in the Indies. Because of his father, he was able to get right into WWE development. And it's like he got to bypass the Indies and go right to the big time because of his dad. And he made he talked about it in the documentary that came out recently about it's like but he wanted to make work on his own and not like he may have opened the door, but he was not want to make sure he didn't get any special treatment, of course. It's like he wanted to earn it. And he did.
Yeah, so it's just unfortunate.
This whole CM Punk thing is very.
I've always been a big fan of him. When the first incident happened and left a sour taste in my mouth, then he came back, and it just wasn't the same when he came back.
Man,
it felt, and I was glad that him and Joe, feuded. And just to hear that, I'm just like, Jesus, not again. I'm like, I don't know how he doesn't get let go. Like, because if you don't let go, what is that telling the locker room?
Exactly. He left Tony no choice at this point. It's like he had to do this because of suspension. After what happened with everything previously, him just suspending you again. That's not going to send a good message. It's like. Tony was like, I can't take the risk of something like this happening again. It's like whether Punk it started it or someone else starts something with him. It's like he for the health of the company and the locker room, he had to do this. Unfortunately, it's like, and it's really, it's a bummer because they could have made a lot more money and done so much more if they had worked things out. But
but here's let me see if I can share this real quick about those stats that I was telling you about. Let's see here. Share this. Let me click on this one. And do that. All right. Oh, no, let's just go back to here.
Okay.
So that's basically the number. So the opening quarter of the past Saturday's AEW Collision drew 472,000 views. After Tony Khan announced it, CM Punk 89,000 people tuned out, down to 383, lost 19%. The show went below 250 by the end of the final.
That says it all right there. That he was a draw. That says all right there. The viewership number, Nielsen numbers, just plummeted when fans realized that he'd been fired because they were tuning in because of him, and now they tuned out. So it's like, if you need more proof that he was a big draw for AEW, and they can survive this, but it definitely hurts them. It definitely.
Oh no, I mean they basically they got their roster too big.
Collision was built around him, and Warner Bros. Discovery probably isn't happy, but it's like Zaslav and them probably had to understand Tony's reasoning. It's like he that must not have been a fun phone call for Tony having to tell Zaslav and the higher ups at Warner Bros. Discovery that he was going to fire CM Punk. It was the reason why that they put. It's like they wanted another. They asked Tony for another wrestling show for the network. And so, they were all for building around CM Punk because they knew he was a draw. And now that he's gone, what's going to happen is it's like they really need to make sure they have the star power in Collision so it doesn't turn into Rampage, which is skippable content. Like that. Occasionally you might see a good match, but otherwise it's like you don't need to watch it every week. So hopefully that won't happen in the Collision. And plus it's going to be tougher because it's college football time now on Saturdays, especially in prime time. Just like Raw has to deal with Monday Night Football, it's like Collision now has to deal with Saturday Night College Football, and that's going to be they're going to take a hit in the ratings, just like WWE does when it's football season on Mondays.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yep.
So
and then the other thing. Yeah, for sure. And the other little thing, as far as news, before we move on, that just kind of came out, and I was kind of touched upon it. And I only saw this about a couple dirt sheets on X, Twitter X, or how you want to call it. But basically, they've come out. WWE's kind of come out. A couple people have said that they are basically making LA Knight the face of SmackDown, which is odd because of what happened on Raw. I think someone's going to move over to SmackDown, and that just throws that whole thing out the window.
Yeah, who knows?
But we'll get there with the Raw recap. But just Justin, kind of go over the two. One's a live event, one's a pay-per-view, but they're pay-per-views. It's hard for me to get used to that.
We had two WWE and AEW both in action this weekend.
One I was able to watch, and one I wasn't. So I watched Payback, didn't watch All Out. So Justin, talk about Payback, so we can actually talk about that one. And then you can kind of go in what happened. I know what happened in All Out, but I don't. I saw highlights, but that's about it.
I had a busy weekend. I was not able to watch Payback live. I had to watch the replay because a friend of mine was turning 50 on Saturday night, and we had a big birthday bash for him. And then my family was up visiting. My niece and nephew were up, so it's like family comes first. So, I love wrestling, so I did not get to watch All Out live. I had to, via other means, be able to watch the show. That's all I'll say.
Right.
So I was able to watch most of the content from both of the pay-per-views after the fact. So, all right. So Saturday night, WWE had their Payback pay-per-view. We both don't like using the premium live event label. It's like
But it allows us to go back to Peacock and watch it, at least with me. So
yeah, so it was only 6 matches. It wasn't too long of a show. It's like for basically like a B pay-per-view. Not one of the big heavies, but there's some good stuff here. The opening match was one of the highlights, honestly. And we had both been complaining about the Becky Lynch Trish Stratus feud that had gone on too long, and it's like we're like, please end this feud now.
And then they shut us. Then they shut our ass up.
It's starting to drag Raw down. But to their credit, Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus went out and had one hell of a banger cage match to open this show. Holy cow! The fans they did some props to Trish Stratus at her age for wanting to take some of those spots. It's like Becky superplexed her off the top of the freaking cage. They were ragdolling each other into the cage. It's like there was some cool stuff. They started busting out other people's moves. Like Trish Stratus busted out Widow's Peak. Shout out to Victoria, one of my favorite women's wrestlers from the Trish Stratus lead era of the women's division. Busted that out on Becky, and Becky was like, "Oh, okay, all right. Let me. I'll borrow my idol Lita's Twist of Fate." And she Twist of Fated Trish for a really close near fall. Fans were eating this up. They beat the hell out of each other. Like if you see the photos after, Trish Stratus had one hell of a friggin' bruise right in the middle of her forehead.
She was bruised and battered all over.
She went through the ringer, and this was a hot match, and a great blow off to this feud that was definitely starting to drag. So it ended with a bang. Becky won despite Zoe Stark's trying to interfere. It backfired, and she did a manhandle slam on Trish off the top rope to finish her. So it's like definitive. This feud is over. Right. So Becky wins the feud, which is great. Yeah. Props to Trish Stratus for doing this at her age, man. It's like, man, she doesn't have to do this, but she wants to, and God bless her for it. And then Trish wasn't happy with Zoe for botching the rescue, and actually slapped her in the face. And Zoe's like, "All right, I had enough of this shit," and she dropped Trish like a bad habit. Mm-hmm. So that alliance is completely over.
Right, and so with that, the reason I really liked it, because I was sitting there watching it, I was like, because if this was Vince, he would have had Trish. He probably would have had Trish lose the match because Becky Lynch, but he probably would have had Trish drop Zoe and make the old school person go over. What they do? They made Zoe go over on her. Yeah, which is I was like, please let Zoe. I know they were getting ready. Either they were going to give Trish a standing ovation, or they were going to have. And then when they started kind of like disputing with each other, I was like, please have Zoe give her finish, because that way it helps Zoe going forward and not just leaving her in the middle of the ring. And then what's Zoe Stark anymore? That would just kill everything. They used to do that with so many people. They just have a bunch of 60-year-olds come out. No offense to them, they're legends, but there was their time. But if you want to create new stars, you don't bury them with 50-year-olds unless they're the Undertaker or something like that.
This feud, it was about Becky getting to feud with a legend, someone she look up to, and it's like, no, you used to be amazing, but you're not the GOAT anymore. I'm a GOAT now. It's like she made it very clear with this victory. It's like it's so she can put her. Becky's got a whole new feud cooking, as we saw this week. I'll get to that later. But yeah, no, this also helped elevate Zoe Stark big time. She's now definitely high up in the rankings in the women's division on Raw, and I'm happy because I've been a big fan of hers since her time in NXT. So this has been a really good thing for her. She got to work with two of the best ever, and learn from them. So it's a win-win for her. So hopefully this will lead to more good things for Zoe Stark. So yeah, the great opener. Fans loved that hot match. Awesome. Then for fun time, our boy LA Knight,
Yeah.
took on the Miz with John Cena as the special guest referee. And of course, due to their wonderful history, the Miz was not thrilled
No.
whatsoever that John Cena decided to make himself the special guest referee as part of because Cena was basically like the host of the pay per view. It's like and it was
Got some mic speaker there.
yeah. I just had a brief little power surge. Looks like I'm okay.
Okay,
Um,
yeah, your TV shut off there.
just hold on a second. I just got to plug in my phone. It's dying. I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. All right, so yeah, so as he was talking about, we had a fun little match there with LA Knight and The Miz, and John Cena first came out because he was the host of Payback. And of course, was leading off of John Cena appearing, I think, in 7 straight shows or something like that. I'm not exactly for sure, but then the basically him and The Miz kind of went back and forth with each other, which was hilarious because the Miz is one of the is top 5 mic worker, and not only probably WWE and probably in the industry.
Yeah.
He just is like the guy that's going to just put people over. I mean, it just is what it is on it because there's no way he's going to go over an LA Knight. And then they kind of played up to LA Knight coming out. The Miz ran around like a scared little rabbit for about a good 5 minutes. Well, they rang the bell. Well, at first he just wouldn't get in the ring. I thought John Cena was going to go out and do something, and then it was just like a fun little match, typical. But they gave Miz some offense, and it wasn't obviously like of the card. Probably was the second worst I would put on. There wasn't, but it was just fun for what it was. They were kind of going back and forth, and LA Knight, John Cena kind of got into it because he wouldn't break up some things there in the rope.
Yep.
So they were kind of going back and forth. So LA Knight was still showing the attitude, like kind of the what how help me out with the term where they're the hero and the villain type of like what Stone Cold was, the arc whatever anti-hero. Thank you. So he was kind of still being the anti-hero because he just became babyface just on the crowd cheering him. So it wasn't like they were wanting him to turn face. It's just the crowd made it happen because you couldn't deny it. But he still kind of did the anti-hero thing with Cena. And then the Miz had some near falls on him, and there was LA Knight has a hard time jumping on things and jumping off of it, but that's okay. There was a little spot there where he went to and he got through it. But at the end, LA Knight got the win. And then John Cena and him kind of went face to face at the top of the ramp. John Cena wanted respect, and you can kind of hear him kind of go back and forth. And then finally shook his hand, and then John Cena raised his hand and then said, "Have your moment." And that was kind of the match there. Still a fun match, but LA Knight's just, I mean, the crowd was still into it because it's LA Knight. And John Cena's out there with them. They really didn't need John Cena out there, but I didn't hate it for what they were
because it's like the fans adore Cena these days. They love it every time he comes back, and of course, he's doing a little bit of an extended run here because with the strikes, actor strike going on in Hollywood. It's like he don't got no movies or TV shows to do at the moment. So
nope.
Perfect time for him to go back to WWE. It's like he says WWE is his home, will always be his home, and happy to do some stuff with WWE for a while he's his Hollywood part of his career is on hold for the moment due to the strikes going on. Yep. So it's a win for WWE because he's like. And also, it was really cool. Yeah, like this was a good match. It wasn't like a 5-star level match, but it was good. Crowd was heavily into it. Like they love LA Knight, and they hate the Miz, and they loved. It's like it's a big win for LA Knight over an established name, and Cena gave him a rub afterwards, even though LA Knight was kind of like, hey, you could have done a little better job refereeing there, Cena. Right. But they shook hands, and he raised his hand, so Cena. Given the nod to LA Knight, which is good for him. So good result the way it should be. we'll get. Apparently, Miz is not happy with what happened. He feels he got screwed, and it's like it's part of Raw. But this feud with LA Knight may not be over just yet, so stay tuned. But big win for LA Knight, and it's a good match. So then next up we had a pretty quick match. Rey Mysterio defending the United States title against former champion Austin Theory, who he beat the title for. This was just under 10 minutes. Decent match for about 10 minutes. Mysterio retained. So not sure what's next for Austin Theory. We're going to have to wait and see. But we'll get probably more into that with SmackDown because maybe pairing him up with Grayson Waller as a duo, which is interesting possibilities. We'll see.
It's not like us, two people talking to each other right now predicted that like 2 weeks ago because we were like, what else are you going to do with LA Knight? And I forget what wrestler came out and was like, you can't keep doing the same. It's just played out. It's done. It's over. And it's just like, and you're going for cheap heat every single time. And it's just boring, unfortunately. Because, I mean, we don't want this, unless they're just a bad person out of the ring. We really don't want any wrestler to just not be good, but understandable. There is just certain places on the card, and you've got to earn your top spot, whether it be backstage or also skill. But if you can't go out and reinvent yourself or something, I mean, John Cena was almost out of the company before he even started, and he came out with the Doctor of Thugonomics by rapping on the back of a bus, and then here we are 20 years later. You have to and the New Day, Austin Creed. Xavier Woods was way out of the building, and he basically went to Vince McMahon and says, if this doesn't work, I'll walk out the building myself. Yep. And here's New Day this many years later. So there's a way the kid can do it. And have faith he can. I mean, he was fine with the way, but he's got to do something different.
They really got to find something really good for him to help get him back up, because there's no doubt that Theory, he's a talented wrestler. He's got good mic skills, so it's like he's got the tools. He just needs the right angle and the right feud to get red hot again. Was the Grayson Waller talking to Cody? Was that before or after the title?
Then you had Rhea and the tag, and no, you went the Grayson Waller, the tag, then the Rhea, then Shinsuke.
Okay. All right, so we'll talk quickly about Grayson Waller had his little interview show on the pay-per-view. Smart way to get him on the show, give him some more exposure, which is I like Grayson Waller. So his guest was Cody Rhodes, because Cody really didn't have a match. So this was another way to get Cody onto the show and make the fans happy. And they had their back and forth, but the big news out of this whole thing is that Cody revealed that he went to management and pulled some strings and got someone traded from SmackDown to Raw to help boost the Raw roster. And that person is none other than main event Jey Uso. Yes, that's right. The Usos have now officially been split onto different shows. Jey Uso is now on Raw, and while Jimmy, Solo, Heyman, and Roman remain on SmackDown. And we're going to get more into that because Adam Pearce made it clear that someone from Raw is going to SmackDown as part of this deal, because it's a trade. So Jay's gone to Raw, and we're going to find out pretty soon who's going to from Raw to SmackDown in Jay's place. And there's a lot of speculation about who that could be, and we'll get to that later. But this was pretty big news. I think, and it makes sense about who people are speculating about who's going to end up going to SmackDown as part of this trade to get Jay over to Raw, because it makes sense storyline wise. He doesn't want to deal with his brother or Roman or any of that bloodline drama anymore. He wanted out, and Cody understands he's turned over a new leaf and decided to help him out. And also, it's him also sticking it to Roman and company as well. On top of that, so it's a win-win for him. So that definitely furthers they're definitely doing what they're definitely delaying the brother versus brother confrontation for a bit, probably until maybe even all the way until Mania next year, because now that they're going to be on different shows for a while. So
that's where they're going with it.
I think, and it's also a good thing because it allows them both to work on their singles careers a little bit as well and establish themselves that way. Jimmy more than Jay, because Jay got to really establish himself, show that he could really be, work really well as a single star when his brother was hurt 3 years ago, when the Bloodline storyline started, when Roman went into turned himself into the tribal chief and started his domination of the company. Jimmy was out hurt, and so it's like it was up to Jay was the one who was fighting back against, didn't want to fall in line with at Roman's feet. So we got, it's like they had a bunch of matches on pay-per-views. So Jay is firmly established that, he can do pretty well by himself as a singles wrestler. So this is more about seeing what Jimmy can do on his own. And, he's still got issues with his their younger brother Solo and of course Roman. So, we'll see where that how that works out on SmackDown. But this is big.
Yeah, it's just a couple nuggets as far as the kind of how they presented Jay. For one, he has a new Titantron, and his theme's a little bit different.
Yeah,
it says it's just me, Oos, and then they sit down one, they won whatever it says, but he says it's just me, Oos. It's just him, and he's in the crowd's with him. I think the whole like doing this with the crowd and them all like doing that. You really saw that at the last pay-per-view that they did when he gets Roman. I always thought that the whole Bloodline storyline was kind of like compared to because it's like, oh, it's about Cody, it's about Roman, it's about this. I was like, no, it's been about Jay the whole time, about him getting here. So they've been building Jay as a singles person, and every time they put him in the singles, he would lose, which stinks, but he showed that he could carry a match and he could put on a
absolutely
just every match he was in. I was like, oh yeah, he's definitely a single star. So is he the Jeff Hardy of the Usos? Who knows? I hope he doesn't have his troubles outside the ring. The Usos do, but still, I hope they can corral that on that. So, but no, Jay's definitely got the charisma and everything like that. It's been a long way since their very lackluster debut. I forget, it was like 10 years ago. It's been like that when they came out with Tamina. So to see the Usos' career in themselves, where they, came to being just like probably a throwaway, the Ascension or whatever type of tag team, to being arguably one of the best tag teams, definitely in the top 10. To me, we've talked about that before, and that might be one show we do. Just go over a top 10 list at the end of the show. It's not going to be this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's good to see that. And then also Michael Cole kind of doing a little wink to Cody, saying he used to be an EVP, so he knows how to get stuff done.
Yeah, that was a hell of a line. People really like that line. I thought I was like, oh, nice one, Cole.
So, and people were sitting there saying, oh, that's like when Vince was had Michael Cole say that thing about burying Sting. I was like, no, he would have not had Michael Cole say that line, because it acknowledges the other company.
And also a company, but it also in a positive way for Cody, because it was a positive comment here that Cody knows how to navigate this kind of stuff because he used to be an EVP for another company. So
I think that was definitely either Triple H.
There's a lot of interesting storyline
implications
to this move by Cody for that him orchestrating Jay being traded to Raw. So so that was the big news out of that whole thing. And then we got to one of the other highlights of the pay-per-view. Undisputed tag team title match, street fight. Kevin, my boys, two of my favorite guys of all time ever. I adore Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. They were defending against Judgment Day, Finn Balor, Damian Priest. This was a hell of a brawl that surprisingly included blood. I don't know if it was Hardway or KO got away with a little bit of blade action when they were behind the barricade. I'm not sure. But Kevin Owens got busted. He was busted wide open pretty good there about halfway through the match. This was awesome. It's what you would want in a street fight. They gave the fans what they wanted. They said, we want tables. And KO was saying, we were like, yeah, no, we got the tables, but don't worry. And plenty of other weapons. One of the highlights was they dumped KO and Sammy over a barricade into I think what normally would be like the penalty box when in the for hockey, and the two of them emerged completely decked out in Pittsburgh Penguin attire with hockey sticks as weapons
and gloves,
wearing the jerseys of two legendary Pittsburgh Penguin players. And of course the crowd went nuts for that, because they were in Pittsburgh, and it's like they gave it their best, but Judgment Day pulled its shenanigans. JD McDonough got involved. So did Rhea Ripley and Dominic Mysterio. At one point near the end of the match, Rhea friggin' speared poor Kevin Owens right through the barricade to a holy shit chant. Sammy looked like he had the match won. He haluva kicked Finn Balor, was going for the pin, but Dirty Dom blasted Sammy in the back of the head with the briefcase to break it up, which is legal because it's a street fight, so it's no DQ, anything goes. And he knocked KO out with the briefcase, put Finn on top, 1, 2, 3, and Judgment Day now have the tag team titles in their collection. Everyone in Judgment Day is dripping in gold, as Scott Hall used to say. So it's like this furthers their feud. It definitely helps smooth things out between Finn and Damian for now. It also furthers JD trying to help out Judgment Day, because at some point I think he definitely wants in, and there was talk about Raw about that on Raw, about him, whether or not others would be okay with him joining the group or not, due to his recent actions in trying to assist the faction. And more heat for Dom for screwing Sammy and KO over. I love Sammy and KO. I love that they won with them winning the tag titles at WrestleMania over the Usos. One of the to end the first night was one of the best moments of WrestleMania this year. They got to have a great moment, and other times I've been upset, but they had a really good run with the belts for most of this year. So, and they defended them a lot against a lot of other teams. So I'm okay with this this title change, because it makes sense for the power of the faction. It's showing Judgment Day reaching its zenith before things start to crumble. It's like, so it's at this point now, they with the bloodline disintegrated, they are now the top heel faction in WWE now, and they've got the gold to prove it. It's like Rhea's the women's world champion. Dominic's got the NXT North American title. Now Finn and Damian have the tag titles around their waist, and Damian's still got Money in the Bank briefcase to cash in at any time that he chooses to, which has not happened yet. So they got a lot of power and they got a lot of gold around their waist. It's thumbs up on this match. One of the best matches of the show. Crowd loved it. It's like the crowd was really into this whole show, to be honest. It's like there's
a 1A and 1B, and this was part of it as far as my two favorite. It will probably, I don't know. The last match was really good.
Yeah, we'll get to Shinsuke stuff.
But as far as this, as far as the decision, as kind of what Chris alluded to with Punk, the Judgment Day needed this more than the KO and Sammy needed the belts, because it's like, if they won, what does this do for Judgment Day, and where do KO and
Sammy Judgment Day had to win this to really keep things going, because if they another loss would would hurt this whole angle, really. And because they're sowing the seeds for the group falling apart, but they're not ready to pull that trigger just yet.
No, and me and you kept complaining about that, about get somewhere. That Payback kind of was just like when WWE's like, just stay with us, guys, as far as the Trish and Becky stuff, and then the Judgment Day stuff.
Also, by winning the tag titles, this is the first time that Finn has won the tag titles. So now he's officially in the Grand Slam Club in WWE history. Because it's like Even though it was very brief, he was the first Universal Champion.
Mhm.
He held the Intercontinental title multiple times, U.S. title multiple times, and now he's got the tag title. So it's like he's had the top one of the top titles, both mid card titles, and now tag title. So
Right. And a couple of nuggets that I noticed. Obviously, it was a Crosby and Lemieux, which
yeah, thank you. I couldn't remember. I knew it was Lemieux. I couldn't remember who the other.
Yeah, it was the kid Crosby, and then Michael Cole calling them, saying that they had on a Pittsburgh Steelers jerseys, and then Corey
Yeah, that was
it was like, come on, Cole, those are Pittsburgh
Corey,
Penguins, get it right, because they just announced
Corey
that the
did a good
Pittsburgh Steelers were there.
Cole's botch there. Cole botched that right there, and Corey did a great jab to save him out of that, because I was
in Cole's defense,
what are you talking about?
Right. I was like, did he just say what I think he said? But Corey made the good save, and then but in Cole's defense, they literally before the match showed some Pittsburgh Steelers there. So
yeah, there was members of the Steelers in attendance at the show. So
yeah, so we flub our words doing this show sometimes. But it's just still funny that he did that.
It was really funny.
And then JD McDonough taking the freaking hardest pop-up powerbomb spot.
That was brutal. He not only did KO drop him on the announce table, but the announce table didn't even budge. And so he took that all on his back. It was like, that hurt.
And then KO doing the swanton and then he did like the Sting, because Sting did that, so he kind of did like an homage.
Yeah, the swanton off of off the second level. That was nuts.
He did and he just noticed how he did, like he wooed right before he jumped off, kind of like to give an homage to Sting.
Yeah, it was obviously. Oh, and shout out to Kevin Owens. He came out with his t-shirt, but he quickly pulled the t-shirt off to reveal Terry Funk t-shirt.
Yep. So he was definitely
he loved Terry Funk too, and so him wearing the Terry Funk shirt was like icing on the cake.
That's probably why he bled.
In a street fight.
had to go all the way with it. Had to bleed and everything.
Exactly.
For it, but no, it was. I mean, it's just good stuff.
From
there, I don't like. I really don't. I'm not a big fan of the death matches because they just sit there and just whack stuff and bleed for no reason. I need a story involved with it, and like this, like the tribal stuff, that wasn't as good as this one. It was very well paced.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything made sense on why it happened. Maybe Dom coming in at the end there to hit him with the briefcase. I'm like, you took Dom out 100 yards away.
Yeah, no, it's like
but they had to figure it out somewhere. It's kind of like ending a sketch in like space. It's like
plus it took like multiple interference attempts for them to finally lose, because it's like wasn't like Dom running out and hitting same with the briefcase was the only thing that happened. I mean, like JD interfered. It backfired. Rhea took out KO. It still wasn't over. It's like literally Judgment Day had to like pull out all the stops in their heel playbook in order to win this match. So it wasn't like KO and Sammy got punked or anything. It's like they put up a hell of a fight, and it took everything, all the shenanigans Judgment Day could pull off in order to win this match.
I honestly think they kind of caught an audible, because it would have made more sense for Rhea to do it, because she was the one that did the offensive move to KO rather than Dom take a swanton. But I think maybe when Rhea did it, she was like, I can't get up or something like that. I don't know. But it looked like that hurt her, man. Like it looked like she was like she was like, oh, my back. Like after she speared KO through the barricade. That looked like because I mean, a swanton technically is literally just like a tap and he goes through a table. Like unless Jeff Hardy now like lands his whole body on you, but typically a swanton is just kind of like they hit just the back of their shoulders.
Yeah,
on there. It's kind of like it's just a really cool move, but I really don't think it like hurts. It's like the people's elbow. Like it really doesn't do much.
So, big thumbs up to this match. One of the highlights of the show. So 2 matches left. The second to last match before the main event. Rhea had to recover quickly because she had to defend the Women's World Championship against her old frenemy, Raquel Rodriguez, who she's been feuding with lately. It was a pretty solid match. This one didn't get as good as I was hoping it would be, even though they got a decent amount of time. They got to go they got about 17 minutes, which is Props to WWE. Both women, both Becky and Trish and Rhea and Raquel both went over 50 minutes. Like the cage match was about like 20 minutes. So women got time on this show, which is nice. This ended up being still a pretty good match. It just it didn't hit the expectations I thought it would. It was like about like 3.5 where I was expecting maybe to hit at least like a 4-star kind of level. Like, okay, now this match is cooking kind of thing, but it was still solid. Once again, Dirty Dom being MVP for Judgment Day, distracted Raquel long enough for Rhea to hit Riptide on Raquel to win the match. But they were beating the tar out of each other for sure, and so it was good to see. I'm glad that Raquel got to have a good spotlight on pay-per-view. It's like I like her a lot, and so this feud is definitely not over, obviously, because it's like the shenanigans and everything. So we'll see where this goes. So I thought it was a good match.
Rhea has more of a bigger feud in freaking NXT nowadays. It feels like that than on Raw. But no, I mean it was fine. It's a typical kind of what I thought. Maybe that's why I was taken out of it a little bit, because I just knew what was going to happen. They weren't going to give the title off of Rhea. They're kind of doing. They're not doing the whole like Bianca thing with her, but there's definitely a thing to where maybe I don't know. I mean, Raquel, she did what she needed to do to make herself look strong. So you still see her as a force, and it obviously the heel did the heel thing where someone distracted and then hits this and then it's the Roman 101. He looks like he's about done, and then someone distracts him, and then he hits this thing, and then and then it's and that's like pretty much it's why people are like,
yeah,
okay,
because
Roman,
like
can we mix it
Raquel
up?
was the first like person you could buy beating Rhea. It's like because they're about the same height, same build, so she can throw down like Rhea can. So it's like it was she was going up against someone who was on her level. It's like and so yeah, it makes sense that Dom would be like trying to make sure that it's like oh, mommy might be in danger here. I better lend a hand here. So
Yeah, it's all leading up to Becky and Rhea probably at WrestleMania.
Oh yeah, that's definitely down the line still. Becky's got another feud lined up already, as we mentioned earlier. We'll get to that, but they're definitely saving. I think they're saving Becky Rhea probably for early next year, maybe even into Mania season. Is probably because Becky versus Rhea is like is a Mania worthy match,
right?
100%.
Hey, Brendan, thanks for joining.
Hey, Brendan.
Okay, and so then our last one, which
main event, World Heavyweight Championship on the line. Seth freaking Rollins defending against the King of Strong Style, Shinsuke Nakamura, fresh off his heel turn. As we mentioned before, this feud is relatively new. It's like the last few weeks, but it got red hot real fast thanks to the promo work of both men involved. It's like they really sold this match, and it definitely delivered. It was a hell of a match. Bust out some really cool moves. It's like a couple of times it looked like Shinsuke had him, and he was going after the back, doing all kinds of stuff to try to like wreck his back. It's like going off of the real life stuff of the back issues that Seth is working through right now. But Shinsuke made just one little mistake, and that was enough for Seth to get a stomp in and escape with the title. It was a really close match. As we saw in Raw, this feud is not over. Shinsuke is not done with Seth yet, which I'm fine with because this was a hell of a match, and fans were definitely into it. So, thumbs up.
Yeah, and the thing that I really liked about it was honestly after the match where Shinsuke looked pissed and Seth could hardly get up. So it still played on the back injury, which we saw in Raw. It ain't over because I'm glad that they aren't over with, because it would just feel just to do a one-off as good as it ended up being.
Yeah.
Then you got to do it. You at least got to keep it going, keep it fresh, which they did on Raw. But that was the one thing. It's just Seth was like sitting there like on his hands and knees and just like you could just tell it was hard for him just to stand up because his back was they were playing on the back, which he still is legit injured.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
you know,
he's dealing with legit back issues.
right? I mean, but he's stone like I said, he's stone cold in it. Like
Yeah,
you had to even play it up more. I mean, it was still like he wasn't comfortable, but he was able to like kind of do that. And then Shinsuke was just sitting there pacing like he's still pissed. And you got to let for a show like Payback, you got to leave him alone. So I mean, sometimes he could have probably ran in or did anything, but he was just sitting there more disappointed in himself than he was just mad at Seth for getting a cheap one over on him or something like
that. It was Shinsuke was like was playing that like damn it, I almost had him.
Right.
I almost had him after the match. Like he had that look on his face like, oh, it's so close. So it's like he came close, but not close enough this time. So the feud will continue, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, and as far as our finally since Backlash, they finally got back to form with this one.
Yeah, no, this was a thumbs up show. The opener, Becky Trish cage match, the street fight for the tag titles, and the main event all were highlights. No real bad matches. No like, oh, this match was horrible on this show. Everything was either like good to like awesome. It's like.
I know the Rey Mysterio, Austin Theory match.
That was probably the weakest match of the show because it was just so short. But it wasn't like horrible.
But they all had their own like flavor to them. So it wasn't like it wasn't just like okay, and then this match and there's going boom 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 boom. They all had the same beats. Like everyone had their own different beat, song and dance that they did. So you had a nice little mixed CD. Every song wasn't the same, which is exactly what you want, and they were entertaining. It wasn't but a bunch of duds. So, I mean, I can understand why people are like, well, the LA Knight and Miz feud, Miz thing. I was like, it was more of the buildup and the entertainment. There was more of the entertainment factor because that's what they are. They're just more larger than life characters. You don't put John Cena in there, who's also a larger than life character. I mean, you would sit there and say like, oh, this match wasn't that good. You gave Cena crap for years saying he couldn't wrestle. The 5 moves of doom and stuff. So I'm okay with it. I know some people just want that, that everything has to be an NJPW 30-minute, Ospreay versus Omega. And I'm like, you don't need every match to be Ospreay versus Omega. You have, and
not every match is going to be a 5-star classic. If it's like really good to like damn good, like the 3 matches I pointed out were I thought was like damn good, like 4 out of 5 stars at the minimum,
at the least.
And props to the Pittsburgh crowd. They were it's like they're a really hot crowd. They were into the show the whole time. And they kept it lean, 6 matches, so it didn't have a really long one time, didn't wear out the crowd or anything. So
And sorry to our audience about All Out. Like I said, I didn't see it. I saw a little bit of highlights.
I'll go over a quick rundown here of
but I heard it was a really good card. I heard it was a really good show.
It was because me and a lot of other people were really like wondering like, okay, they're running a pay-per-view a week later after the historic show that they did in Wembley Stadium for All In. They're doing another one in Chicago. Now all of the people are on the card. It's like it's like, and the main event was not for like the world title. The main event was for one of the mid-card titles. So it's like people wondering like, is this match? Is this show going to be any good? And not only was it good, it was damn freaking good. I mean, it's like this show more than delivered and then some. They had some incredible matches on the show. So it was a lot. There was like 13 matches here. So I'm not going to try to eat up too much time. I'm going to go over each match real quick and just give my overall thoughts here real quick. On the pre-show, they had a battle royal. It was a charity battle royal. The winner got to choose a charity that Tony would donate to. I think it was like forget what the exact dollar amount was, but it was pretty substantial. Heyman and Page won it, and got to they announced the charity that he had chosen for the money to go to later in the show. It was just a way for people to get on the show, just like how these do the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal at WrestleMania. This is okay. We're gonna get a bunch of these guys, their payday on the show, even though they don't have a match. So, 6-woman tag: Kushida, Willow Nightingale, Sky Blue beat the heel team of ROH Women's Champion Athena, Mercedes Martinez, and Diamante. With Billy Starks was in the heel corner. Sky Blue got to shine because she's a Chicago girl. Crowd was really happy for her. Quick match, babyfaces won. That's it. And then for the trios titles, the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn defended against Team Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal, and Satnam Singh, with Sanjay Dutt and Karen Jarrett at ringside. But the Acclaimed had some backup of their own, the form of NBA Hall of Famer and former Chicago Bull Dennis Rodman, to cater to the Chicago fans. Rodman helped deliver a couple of championships to them during the Michael Jordan era. He's pretty beloved there, and he's a well-known wrestling fan. I mean, it's like he's a former member of the NWO. He even did a match on pay-per-view teaming up with Hulk Hogan. So it's like he's no stranger to wrestling.
No.
But this time he was on the side of the good guys. He was in the Acclaim's corner. They obviously won, and then afterwards, Rodman got to do a little scissor party with Daddy Ass and the Acclaim to the delight of the crowd. Rodman seemed a little kind of out of it. Maybe he was a little.
He's retired. I'll put it that way. He's retired.
But it's like the fans are happy to see him. A little bit extra star power. Nothing new for wrestling. So, that was that. So that was the pre-show. For the pay-per-view, this was an interesting choice for an opener. The pay-per-view opened with Better Than You Baby, MJF and Adam Cole defending the ROH Tag Team titles against the Dark Order, Alex Reynolds and John Silver. This match went about 15 minutes. Crowd was hot for it because they adore Better Than You Baby. They are over like there's nobody's business right now. Their pairing and angle is like the hottest and best thing AEW's got going right now. And this furthered that. MGF looked like he got hurt because, it's like his neck was still kind of bothering him from Wembley a week prior. Mm-hmm. And he went to the back. And so Cole was by himself getting double teamed by Dark Order for a while. But then, of course, MGF made the cliche wrestling. Oh, he's coming back. He's coming back in the match. He's going to fight through it. And, they triumph. The double clothesline, of course, big pop. So Cole and MJF are still the ROH Tag Champions. But then something interesting happened after the match. As they were walking toward the back, Samoa Joe was coming out for his match next.
I saw this.
And he looked over at MJF and gave MJF a little, get out of my way shove. MJF didn't take that very well and stormed the ring and attacked Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe put him into a guillotine choke. Adam Cole asked for help in the back, and a bunch of security and agents from the back came out to break up MJF and Samoa Joe before he could hurt MJF even more. They had to hold MJF back because he wanted to murder Joe, and Joe was just like, whatever.
Right.
Now, for those of you who do not know, there is history between Samoa Joe and MJF. If you look it up on the internet, there is a very famous video of back in Samoa Joe's NXT days when he was the NXT champion. There's a famous little bit where he was being escorted to the ring while he was NXT champion by a bunch of security people, and he kind of shoved one of them off to the out of his way as they were heading toward the ring. That someone was a very young Maxwell Jacob Friedman. That was, as he alluded to, he was trying to get into WWF at the time. didn't work out, but he was used as an extra, in that little bit. That was that's like 6 years ago. So Joe doing that shove to him was a callback to that. So they have set the stage for a new feud for MJF against Samoa Joe of all people, and I'm all for it.
I'm all for it so much.
MJF went on Twitter and said, "I'm not the same person I was 6 years ago, mother effer. It's game on now." So he has not forgotten what Samoa Joe did to him.
No.
All the way back in NXT years ago, and so he wants his payback. That's what we're very interested to see where that's going to go. So that was that. That was very interesting development. Good match overall. Samoa Joe defeated Shane Taylor by submission in like 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Whatever. Quickie, out and done. Whatever. Pretty hot match with Luchasaurus defending Christian's TNT title against Darby Allin with Nick Wayne in his corner. Like Seth Rollins working through injury. Apparently, Darby's working through injury right now. He hurt his back at Wembley Stadium the last week and was still working the match, even though he hurt his back and was doing some insane stuff because he's Darby Allin. I'm working through a recent cold here, so pardon the coughing. I'm gonna get some water here. So Darby was giving it his all. He was basically in refuse to die mode, and so Christian decided to up the ante and took out poor Nick Wayne and threatened to concerto the young man, which distracted Darby long enough for Luchasaurus to hit him with 2 tombstones and a power bomb to make sure he won't get up. And Luchasaurus and Christian maintained their stranglehold on the TNT title. This was one of the best matches on the show. Very interesting angle-wise, this feud with Darby's continue. This whole angle where Christian is acting like he's the TNT champion, even though it's actually Luchasaurus who is the champion, but he acts like he is the champion. It gets great heat. It's a really brilliant thing that they're doing.
Yeah, and even as when he talks about literally when Christian after they just showed something of where he's taking a picture with a girl and she's got a little plastic belt, AEW belt, and he was he sits there and he just gradually takes it off of her and goes, "No, all right, now I'm ready for the picture." And it's just this 6-year-old girl, and then in the media scrum he was just "How's everyone's father?" And I'm just "You bastard."
Yeah. So this was the first really good match of the show. Then right after it was one of the other highlights of the show, because next up was Miro versus Powerhouse Hobbs in one hell of a motherfucking Hobbs fight. I mean,
big meaty men slapping me.
The fact that Big E's meme of big meaty men slapping me has gotten to the point where not only did Excalibur invoke it verbatim, but that the fans were chanting "slap that meat, meat forever."
Right.
They knew exactly what this match was about, and they were all for it. And boy, did the boys deliver, because Miro and Powerhouse Hobbs literally beat the motherfucking shit out of each other in this match. This was like a JR Wet dream of a Hobbs fight. This match. It wasn't a long match. It was only 15 minutes, but in that 15 minutes, man, they went to town on each other and did some really just impressive moves. I mean, at one point Hobbs powered out of the game over, which no one had ever done before. And it's and then he tried to make Miro tap out to the game over, the camel clutch, to try to humiliate him, but that backfired. And then Miro finally put him back into the game over, and Iron Sheiky Baby used to say, he made him humble, and Hobbs finally tapped out to give Miro the victory. And then some interesting things happened after this match. First, Hobbs looked like he, even though he lost, he was he offered his handshake as part of hey, all right, man, I respect you. And almost like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers in Predator, it was like almost like a you son of a bitch kind of moment. Right. It looked like they had earned each other's respect. But then as soon as Miro turned his back, Hobbs jumped him and started beating the shit out of him to massive heat. So it was all a ruse. He went to get a chair. He was going to try to like really hurt Miro. But all of a sudden, someone's new music played, and lo and behold, out came Miro's very lovely wife, formerly known as Lana in WWE, CJ Perry, came out and ran down to the ring, got her hold of a chair and whacked Hobbs over the back of it to help out her husband. Now, before Hobbs could do anything to CJ, Miro was able to recover and attack Hobbs, and Hobbs decided to get out of Dodge finally. Crowd was really into this. Really happy to see her. People wondering when CJ would ever show up, and because she's been alluded to multiple times by Miro, as his very hot, flexible wife, which he said that recently he had forsaken as part of his quest to rise back in the ranks of AEW. Instead of a happy reunion, Miro was very confused that she was there, as in like, what are you doing here? And kind of just walked away without even thanking her or even hugging her, much to the disappointment of the crowd. Tony announced that she is not signed to a long-term contract. So this is basically a short-term kind of deal, probably per appearance. So she's going to be around for a bit as part of this whole angle. So very interesting. It was nice to see her. She's very lovely. Miro's a lucky man. So it'll be very interesting to see where this goes. So that was a very surprising development that she arrived. So we'll see where things go between Miro and Hobbs, especially after Hobbs attacked him afterwards as a sore loser. So match was freaking awesome. One of the highlights of the show. Next up, Chris Statlander defended TBS title against Ruby Soho of the Outcasts. Pretty good match. The main thing about this match was that the Outcasts officially disintegrated because Toni Storm, after what happened at Wembley Stadium, where Saraya turned on her during the women's title match and won the title for herself instead of helping her win it. At one point in the match, Saraya was distracting the referee, and Ruby was going to go for the spray can to try to use that on Chris. But Toni Storm popped up out from under the ring out of nowhere and took the can away from Ruby before she could use it to stop that. And that allowed Chris Statlander to recover and hit her finisher on Ruby to win the match and retain the title. And so, Toni Storm is officially done with both Ruby and Saraya. So very interesting development. I wonder where this goes. I know Toni was on Dynamite being interviewed. I saw briefly out of the corner of my eye, but don't know all the details about that. I'll find out later because I recorded Dynamite. I'm gonna go watch through it after we're done with the show, try to catch up on what happened. But
Ruby and Saraya should stay together.
I think they're going to stay together as a duo. Okay. They might add somebody later, who knows, to replace Toni, who knows. But it seems like this is leading toward Toni going back to babyface, which I'm all for because I'm a Toni Storm fan, and I think she deserves better. So, very interesting development. Also, glad that Statlander is keeping the title. She deserves a good run with it. She's really good. Big fan of hers. Then we had one of the other matches of the night. This was a banger as the American Dragon Bryan Danielson returned to the ring after getting his arm broken at Forbidden Door, taking on Ricky Starks in a strap match to defend the honor of Hall of Famer Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, who is Danielson and many others like me idolize. Loved Steamboat back in the day. He's one of my favorite wrestlers. And boy, man, I think a lot of people, some people said I agree. This was definitely Ricky Starks' best match in AEW.
Now that it hurts that I haven't seen it.
Absolutely. This match was outstanding. They beat the hell out of each other. Of course, Danielson was a bloody mess. So was Ricky. They went to town on each other. there was a great moment where Big Bill came out to help Ricky interfere, and Ricky Steamboat, who had been on the commentary team for the match, got out from commentary, and he went right after Big Bill and was chopping him, baby. It's like giving him the same kind of lethal chops they used to give Ric Flair back in the day, which was and that was a big, and the fans loved that. Finally, got to the point where Danielson basically wrapped the strap around Ricky's throat and was just choking the life out of him. And Ricky refused to tap, and instead he passed out from the choke instead, and to give Danielson the win. So even though he lost this match, this was a huge, big moment for Ricky Starks, showing that he is a main event player. And it's like this is why I've been a fan of his for a while. I knew that he had this kind of match in him. So it's like he went out there, and also a big credit to him because as Danielson revealed in the post-show media scrum press conference, he is not 100%. Yes, he was medically cleared to wrestle, but there's still some things that he's careful not to do yet. He also said, "You probably, if you look carefully, I wasn't throwing punches with my hand on the arm that I broke." He goes, he basically said, "Ricky helped carry me through this match tonight." So Danielson put Ricky over huge for helping him do this match, even when he was not like 100%. And they delivered a hell of a freaking match. So this was one of the highlights of the show. Also, classic. That definitely delivered. Then you had the Blackpool Combat Club, Claudio and Wheeler Yuta fought Eddie Kingston and Shibata. Good match. Claudio beat Eddie again, so I don't know where this is going. Claudio keeps finding ways to beat poor Eddie. At some point, Eddie's got to get the win over him. I think hopefully it's probably leading to Eddie beating Claudio for the ROH title, so we'll see. Then one of the other banger matches on this show.
Just keeps going.
Kenny Omega fought Konosuke Takeshita in another friggin' banger match. This was a coming out party for Takeshita. These two beat the hell out of each other, back and forth, some really close near falls. But in the end, Takeshita came out the winner.
Good.
Full barrel near strike to Kenny's face and knocked him out cold to win the match, much to Don Callis' delight. So Takeshita got to beat Kenny Omega on pay-per-view, which is not many people can say they can do that. So this was a big win for him. And this was the right move for both him, career-wise in AEW, and also for their feud. He had to win this match.
Yeah.
Kenny's got to be knocked down a couple more notches here before he starts to really be able to get his payback on Don Callis and company.
Yeah, you have to make Takeshita. You're trying to build Takeshita as being the guy that can challenge, so you have to believe it. So that's why I'm saying, with the way it was going, I was like, because I saw it on the card, I was like, please have him go over on Kenny somehow. That way, it can make Takeshita be up there with that, which Kenny's good about making people go over. He really doesn't have a whole lot of ego about him. Everyone's got an ego; they're a wrestler, but at least he wants. It just makes sense in that regard.
Yeah. Also, freaking match, another highlight of the show.
Kenny Omega had a good match. When does that happen?
Yeah, I know. It's like Kenny knows how to deliver. Despite some people criticize him, he knows how to deliver a freaking good match. But second to last match, 8-man tag. Bullet Club Gold fought against FTR and the Young Bucks. Rivals decided to join forces against the heels because it's a common enemy. And surprisingly, FTR and the Young Bucks worked really well together. In fact, sharing each other's finishers, which that crowd was definitely into. This was a good match, really back and forth stuff. Cool spot where they did the Power and Glory thing, but the Young Bucks joined in, and Cash finished off with a 450, which he hardly ever gets to hit. He actually got to hit it, but it was broken up. But the heels got to pull some shenanigans, and Jay White hit Dax Wheeler with the switchblade and allowed one of the guns to get the pin. So Bullet Club Gold gets the win. There wasn't the Young Bucks and FTR were talking it out, and they made it clear that they were apologizing to the FTR that they feel like that hey, we screwed up there, maybe that's our bad. So very interesting to see where this is going to go, whether it's not this is going to make things better or worse between FTR and the Bucks, we'll see. But if this leads to Bullet Club Gold get another shot at the tag titles, I'm all for it, because FTR and Jay White and Juice Robinson had one of the TV matches of the year on Collision, a 2 out of 3 falls match for the tag titles not too long ago. That was a fucking banger. So I'd be all for it.
And just to kind of add this, I did see the entrance to Bullet Club Gold, which is playing off of the Guns. And the Guns make sense because they're the Guns to be in Bullet Club. But that entrance and just, because we talked about that before, it's just like the Guns in Bullet Club just make sense based on the personalities. And this is
helping the Guns get more over as a new act. I think this has been them joining Bullet Club, joining forces with Jay White and Juice Robinson has actually been a good thing for them. It's helped get them more over as a heel act, and they've definitely been improving the ring too, I think, as well. So it's been a win-win for them.
This was exactly what they need. This is exactly what they need.
Bullet Club Go is quickly becoming one of the more powerful heel factions in AEW right now.
You don't sign Jay White you're not doing a job amount. You don't sign Jay White.
Exactly. Yeah, Jay White's a big name. Just it's like these are guys. It's like so. It may not be at some point. I think Bullet Club Gold is going to have gold literally around their waist at some point. The way things are going, because they've been winning a lot lately and causing a lot of baby faces fits over it. So so good match. And then we finished with another match that was like amazing and definitely delivered to the fans. Orange Cassidy defended the AEW International title against Jon Moxley in an all-out war. Much to my surprise, Jon Moxley emerged the victor here, ending Orange Cassidy's near year-long reign as international champion. It was pretty. It's like he came up just short of a year with this reign. It's just been done amazing things for Orange Cassidy, not as a wrestler but as a character. That it's like he cut one hell of a go home promo last week against Moxley and about this match and about how this title has come to mean something to him. He likes being the champion and was going to keep defending it until his dying breath. And Jon Moxley literally had to almost murder him in order to take the title from him. Because Orange was a bloody mess afterwards. And after it was over, Moxley seemed to Moxley already said that he already had a lot of respect for Orange Cassidy. I think he even had more so over after this match is over. I think it's like it'll be very interesting to see where this goes, because I don't know. I mean, I knew that eventually Orange Cassidy was going to lose title, but having get to Moxley, I don't. We'll have to see where this goes. I'm not like 100% on board with it yet. We'll see, but I felt this was someone else who could use the elevation to winning the title would take it from Orange, not already one of their established top stars who really doesn't need a title.
It's like Strickland.
Yeah. So they had a hell of a match and the crowd loved it. Orange Cassidy got a standing ovation from the fans afterwards because he deserved it. He's had an amazing run as the champion, established that belt as basically like what Gunther has done with the Intercontinental title. It's like made it like the legit mid-card title that you respect, with how he's defended it like nonstop for this almost a year. So I just question giving it to having Moxley be the one to take it from him. It's like it felt like, it's like, Moxley's one of their MVPs. It's a question. It's like at this point he doesn't need a title around his waist to be over. So it's like we'll just see where this goes with him having the title. I'm gonna keep an open mind, but yeah, I was kind of like afterwards. I was like, really? They let him beat the. Because I actually thought Orange was going to keep the title for a little, or maybe go at least a year before losing the belt. But that's even though I'm not 100% sold on who won the match. The match was still amazing. Great close of the show. This pay-per-view exceeded many people's expectations, including mine. There's multiple matches that were just absolutely outstanding. A couple of the ones that are kind of like, but the ones that delivered, and more that made this show really enjoyable, despite its really long runtime. I mean, there's like I said, like if you count the pre-show, there's 13 matches over about 4+ hours. So it's a really long show. So
and that's
what
we always say about AEW. That's what we always say about AEW. It's like doesn't matter who they have. And it's always good to hear because it's like ever since AEW started. Yeah, they had some good storylines, and that even helps the match. But they're gonna have the best wrestling matches, and WWE is gonna have the best storylines. So I've yet to see that. Now WWE has definitely stepped their game up on letting the guys actually perform. They don't do those just 6 minutes and then move on to the next backstage segment where they're looking at the TVs awkwardly and all that other crap. But AEW lets them go, and they let them actually make
deliver.
They deliver, and they showed it literally in a week span that they can deliver, which is always good to hear. So thanks for going down there.
Yeah, again, last thing is credit to the Chicago fans. Despite what happened with CM Punk, they were into the show big time. For the matches delivered, they were red hot for hearing those meat related chants from the fans during the Hobbs Amira match was it made me laugh so hard. I was like, this is fantastic.
When you replace the woo slaps with the meat hits with the meat clubs, I was like, I'm glad Powerhouse Hobbs and I guess they were just kind of new that they were taught. Like you heard some of the internet was just like, oh, this is the big meaty man slapping meat match. And so they played into it, and the crowd were just the meat.
Me and other people were saying this is big meaty men slapping meat match, baby. Bring it on, and it friggin' delivered and then some. And the fans were all into the meat.
God
bless Big E.
Oh, I was dying laughing when I first heard that. I don't know how many times I
didn't check Twitter to see if he commented on it, but he probably was just had his big old grin on his face about this whole thing, man. Because he started something that is just still going strong.
Yeah. All right, Justin. Well, thank you for doing that rundown. Sounds like AEW can still put on a banger.
Again, pardon my coughing, probably.
You're good. Hey. Yeah, I'm just glad you're able to still power through. So this is your Jordan flu game, as someone would say. So thanks for recapping that. Good to know that AEW, despite all the controversy, still goes out, puts on a heck of a show, and it doesn't hurt the product itself. So that's still good to see. But I think the dirt sheets hurt, and there's so many times backstage, and Mark Henry came out and said, it's over. We're good now. Now, whether or not it kind of sounded, I don't know if you saw that, but anyway, we're moving on. So we got the next 15 minutes here to wrap up and go over the Raw recap, or like to call it Monday Night Jey Uso, because they should. They basically just highlighted Jey Uso throughout this whole show. When they said he's on Raw, he opened the show. He was
already they already added him into the intro. They updated the intro to include him. So it's like.
He can't, and we'll kind of do back and forth on this because on this show. But basically, Jay opened the show, came out through the crowd. Everyone was hyped up. They did the whole hands thing. That still kind of gives me chills seeing
he's over, man.
He's over. The fans do that with him. And then he was too hyped, as some would say, because he was like, I know I've been away for a couple weeks, and I was like, you get there, man. Come on, we know you got it.
Yeah.
But he was so hyped, and he was, welcome to Monday Night Raw, and he's like, I've never got to say this, so chill out with
Yeah.
me. And so he got to do that, and then throughout the show, Jay was highlighted with kind of and then obviously Sammy came out.
Yeah, that was a great moment with Sammy coming out in the opening to welcome him to the show and say how happy he was for him and that he's proud of him, that he's finally gotten away from Roman, and he's on his own, and they hugged, showing that they're bros. That was a nice moment. And he's already involved in storylines because a very interesting moment backstage. Dominic Mysterio walked up to Jay and was like, "Hey, man, you know what? You and I have a lot of things in common." And he ran a bunch of things down and basically sounded like he was trying to sell on Jay on joining Judgment Day. So it's like Jay might get sucked into the Judgment storyline, which it would make sense. I mean, like because he's not going to join.
No.
And plus, since him and Sammy are bros, he would back both Sammy and KO, which would make very interesting because KO is like going to still be leery of Jay for all the stuff he did while he was Roman's lackey in the bloodline. So that will definitely create some very interesting tension because I think it's pretty clear that he's going to side with them in their ongoing war with Judgment Day, which I could definitely see building toward a War Games match if they're going to do War Games.
How far away are we from that? Because that's what I was thinking.
2 months, just about 2 months away.
Okay, so that makes sense. So probably be because it's probably going to be JD McDonough in the match with.
Yeah, because you're going to have JD. JD's going to JD, Dom, Finn, and Damian, and then you'd have KO, Sammy, probably Jey Uso, maybe Cody or somebody else. Because
I don't think Cody's going to be there.
Yeah, because as people started to speculate, because Adam Pearce mentioned to Jay while he was talking to Jay that while he was happy, he also mentioned that as a side effect of this deal for Jay coming to Raw, someone has to be traded to SmackDown in return to replace him, and so people are speculating that that it might be Cody himself to get traded so that he can get one step closer to getting his rematch with Roman Reigns down the line. I could definitely see that happening. It's very possible. It'll be very interesting to see who it is because Pierce implied that it's not going to. There's some people are not going to be happy who's going to get traded. So it'd be very interesting to see where that goes. Then another interesting thing here with Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler got into it with backstage, and which led to them having a match. Shayna won, but she gave a Zoe fist bump out of her, showing that even though that Shayna considered that Zoe put up a good fight and earned her respect. So very interesting to see where that's going to go. If that's leading to something where they might be aligning themselves with each other, maybe down the line. Who knows? Let's see. We had Raquel got to squash poor Chelsea Green. Apparently Piper Niven is she's not injured, she's just sick, which is why she wasn't medically cleared and wasn't on the show. So she's probably only gonna be out for a little bit because people are like, oh no, is the women's tag title curse struck again? Thankfully it's not an injury. She's apparently just dealing with an illness, which is why she was not on the show with Chelsea as one half of the women's tag team champions. After she destroyed poor Chelsea, Raquel made it clear that she's not done with Rhea and that she's getting a rematch next week on Raw against Rhea for the title. And this time, Dirty Dom is going to be banned from ringside. Doubt that's going to stop him.
Solo's been banned from ringside 17 times.
How likely do you think the odds are that it's Cody that is going to be traded to SmackDown for
about 70% because
I'm like 50 to 75. I'm somewhere in there. It's possible, but they may pull a swerve and send somebody else over there instead.
Yeah. So I was thinking that. And I also too, I'm so like Judgment Day's got to the point they just have their own backstage setup. That was interesting to see.
Yeah.
That was like they had like their little the tent and all that stuff with all that. But yeah, it's just interesting to see. It was a solid Raw to me. Was anything else that popped up on the show that the McIntyre when McIntyre came out?
Yeah,
I want to touch on
So,
that. When Jay was walking back, McIntyre first came out. They kind of had a face to face, and then Sammy came out and kind of like was like, "Hey, he's cool, man. He's not," because obviously McIntyre had a feud. Who didn't the Bloodline have a feud with? Basically, that were at least the top area, and then once McIntyre walked to the ring, then Riddle's music hit. He came out, had a stare down with Jay again. Sammy, that took a little bit easier for for Sammy to break up. So it's just like, welcome to Raw. Remember all the things. Remember all the people you messed with before. You're on your own now, kid. So it's going to take a lot for him. So it's going to be cool to see all the things that he's going to do to
I
hey.
will say real quick, one of the negatives on the show was actually the Sammy JD McDonald match. I thought that match was kind of meh, which is disappointing because Sammy's also a wrestler. JD McDonald can bring it, so I don't know what was going on there, but something was a little off in that match. It's like it just wasn't clicking. I think. Not saying it was like completely horrible, but it was like it should have been a really good TV match, but it was more just like okay.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, JD got the win, of course, because it's Babyface has got to take their hits right now against Judgment Day right now.
Right. And then the funniest thing of the show by far was The Miz beating John Cena and having him come out the camera crew following him because you couldn't see him, and that was hilarious. And he was sitting there cutting and that's just hats off to The Miz. I know people don't like The Miz and he can be annoying. The guy's talented. I mean, he just is. So that was hilarious.
Yeah.
To me. I was just laughing the whole time. I'm like,
yeah, and I know some people are worried that geez, the feud between Miz and LA Knight. That's fine. It's like LA Knight's still gonna beat him because it's like this is part of building up LA Knight. So it's like I'm not worried about that. But it makes sense because Miz felt like he got screwed. It's like Cena's one of his old enemies, so it's like he felt like it was a total screw job. So of course he wants a rematch that doesn't involve Cena as the referee to prove that he can beat LA Knight. So it makes perfect sense.
And I guess the other thing, Shinsuke, like we were talking about, Shinsuke and Seth are not done.
Nope. Even though Seth offered him a rematch, Shinsuke said no. Shinsuke then made it clear that he does want a rematch, but it's going to be on his terms and when he says so, not when Seth wants it. So yeah, they got into a brawl that had to be broken up. So yeah, this really good feud is still cooking. I'm all for it. So that was a good thing.
And he's still cutting promos in Japanese.
Yeah. What else was there outside of the main event there, the Intercontinental title match? That
I mean, it was just basically just Jey Uso stuff. Tommaso Ciampa met up with Pierce after Pierce.
So him trying to find out where Johnny Gargano is continues. I think that's obviously what he went to talk with Pierce about.
Right.
So that angle continues. Hopefully, it's going to be leading to something soon. I want give me the DIY reunion, please. And I want Johnny wrestling back on my TV, please.
Oh gosh, please. And then book him correctly, please.
Please.
And then also too, that's why I'm so good that DIY is getting together, which is fine. But Ciampa and if people haven't seen DIY before, you're about to see cohesion at the top.
That's going to be a hell of a boost to the tag division. And hey, Judgment Day, watch your back if the DIY reunion is coming like you think it is.
Yeah. And then which was it, Payback or was it Raw that Rhea had the face-to-face with the NXT champion? Was it Raw or was it Payback?
That was Becky. So just quickly, Becky was not on Raw.
Okay.
they did a backstage statement on the pay-per-view that I forgot to mention, where current NXT champion Tiffany Stratton came up and had words with Becky, because they've been having words on social media, because Tiffany Stratton cut a promo recently at NXT where she was like saying like, I'm better than all the the legends that have come before here that have been NXT. She listed like Charlotte and Bayley and Sasha, and then she mentioned Becky Lynch, and then like fans were ripping her apart on social media like Becky was the only one of the horsewomen who never won the NXT Women's Championship. The other three did. She never did. Yeah. And then she's like, she turned it around and basically was like, yeah, and played it into like, oh yeah, like whatever. It's like, it just shows that she's not even more irrelevant now. It's like, it's like she didn't even win the title. I did.
Oh, and welcome, Colin. And yes, those three are not bad. No, for sure. So,
Becky was like, "Oh, you want to run your mouth, huh? Well, yeah, that's right. The only women's title in WWE that I've never won is the NXT Championship. Maybe I should change that."
Right.
And just a quick aside related to NXT. Tiffany Stratton had a title match to defend against Kiana James, obviously won. And then after the match, the man showed up on the Tron, much to the delight of the NXT faithful, and was like, "Hey there, Tiffy. So yeah, you wanted the man's attention. Well, you got it. Yeah, I'd really like to finally win the NXT Women's Championship. So guess what? You're going to be defending your title next week on NXT against me. So Becky Lynch versus Tiffany Stratton is happening next week on NXT. That's definitely going to be a boost in the ratings for that show, and I can't wait.
We're going to see how good.
She's going back to NXT like some of the other veterans have to help the young talent. So this is great. This is great for Tiffany Stratton because Tiffany Stratton is got all the tools, man. And so her already butting heads with Becky is good for her. So I'm looking forward to that.
Okay, good. But let's see what Tiffany. Let's see if Tiffany Stratton has it for sure, because she's going up against a legend.
But even though Raw had its ups and downs, it ended on a banger because
let's give the one. Gable, let's give the one clap of applause.
Chad Gable did everything he possibly could to try to prevent Gunther from making history. Because if Gunther survived this match, then officially on Friday, August 8th, September 8th, he will officially pass the Honky Tonk Man and become the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time, breaking a record that has stood for 35 years. They had a hell of a match. The fans were red hot for it. They were wanting Chad to win this title. He came really close. There were some great near falls. These two are so good in the ring. Two of the best wrestlers they've got, and they were just putting on a show. It's like Gunther had to hit a bunch of his signature moves to finally put Chad down for the 3 count. And props to WWE. As soon as that happened, they cut to Chad's wife and 2 daughters who were sitting at ringside for this match, and his one daughter, like a la what's her face in NXT was the big Bayley fan, in tears. Right. No,
she literally was like crying, saying "Daddy," and I'm like, oh, that broke me. Why did they show that?
Oh God, that. Props to the camera crew for catching that in time, because that just added to like the and Chad losing. But here's the thing, even though Chad lost this match, I think there's still a very strong possibility that down the line in the near future, he's going to be the one to take the Intercontinental title off of Gunther, because they put out a video a promo that Chad cut backstage after the show, where he made it clear that even though he did his best he could in this match, came up short. The fact that he still believes that he can beat Gunther, and then adding the fact of making his upsetting his family, making his children cry at ringside.
Right.
He's like, this is not over. One way or another, I'm going to work my way back and get another shot at Gunther and the Intercontinental title, and I'm going to win. Right. So I think that's where they're going. After that promo,
and the way the crowd responded to him, and after the show, Cody came out. If there's some after the show, like for the dark after obviously they have like a dark match like after the show. He was still in the ring. Mm-hmm. Cody came out, raised it, did the he was like, "Come on, and he raised his hand and stuff like that. And then, but a couple of things. Number one, it sucks that this match had commercial breaks. That's the only thing that was like,
yeah.
But they had to have.
That was the only drawback.
They booked themselves into a corner based on the dates. If they would have had this on Payback and Gunther would have won, Chad Gable would have been like, or they would have, he probably would have got a cheap one over him or something like that, and then would have had another match on Raw, and then and then Gunther beats him twice, and so then it really buries Chad. People,
yeah.
So that's it. Just made
it was
sense
a smart move to have this. Yeah. It was the right move to have this not be on the pay-per-view, but be the main event of Raw, because it highlighted the importance of the match and also the significance of Gunther breaking Honky Tonk Man's record with this victory. Because it's like that victory ensured that he will break the record, which is huge. It's like people, I was hoping this would happen because I've been a big fan of him for a long time. He's an amazing wrestler. He's done wonders for the Intercontinental title, and now he's in the history books again, because he already broke a Royal Rumble record earlier this year with he shattered the longevity record for the Rumble, going from number one all the way to the end before Cody tossed him to win the match. That was he went like over like 70 something minutes, which is insane. So now he's got another huge record in his books now that he is now officially the longest reigning Intercontinental champion of all time, displacing Honky Tonk Man in the record books.
And the greatest reign of all time, which is not even close.
It's
the greatest reign. Because Honky Tonk
now the question is, so now the question is, now that he's broken the record, how long is he going to keep the title? It's like, I can see him keeping it for a couple more months here before losing it. It's like, he could, as like, at least maybe until Royal Rumble time. I don't know if it'll go all the way to Mania still as a champion, but
the question is,
I see it going a couple more months here before he gets dethroned.
When do you give him the strap? Not a Roman strap, that's Cody's. But when do you give him the world championship? Because you can't, if he gets dethroned and then goes right after Seth, let's just say Seth has the title, he just lost. So you have to kind of have a little bit of build. Just me. I've known sometimes literally, because Gunther, you made him to be like this amazing, he's awesome. And he's going to get that strap. So when do you make the decision to put it on him, but not wait too long? It's got to be the right time, the right build, but not too long. If that is my conundrum right now.
So what about this scenario, just real quick? Say like Chad, racks up wins or wins like a number one contenders match down the line and gets his rematch with Gunther, and it's at Royal Rumble. And at Royal Rumble, he beats Gunther and dethrones him to end his historic title reign.
Let's see where we're going with this.
Then Gunther wins the Rumble and then chooses to face Seth at WrestleMania for the world title.
Or whoever has the strap at that point.
Or whoever has the strap. Most likely it'll be Seth.
Yes. But
because think about it. What better way for Seth to lose the title and finally take time off and get himself healed, get the surgery that he needs to get and take some time off and heal? What better way for him to drop the title than at Mania against a monster opponent like Gunther, where it's like he was able to beat all these opponents, beat Shinsuke, and handle whoever else he's going to feud with next. But finally, it's like Gunther is just too much for him, and Gunther just goes after the back like hardcore, and he beats him at Mania for the world title.
Problem is, how long does Damian have the briefcase?
See, that's the thing. Where does Damian fit into this?
Because he's not going for that. He's not going for Roman.
Because if he tries to cash it out on Roman, he's going to fail.
Right.
Because it's very clear Roman is not losing the title until probably next Mania.
Maybe we don't know.
Which everyone is assuming that, because if the rumors are true and they're going to do Cody Roman 2 rematch at Mania, and Cody finally finishes the story, which if he gets traded to Raw, if he gets traded from Raw, if he's the one that gets sent to SmackDown in place of Jey Uso in this trade, that's definitely the clear message, because then that way, him being on SmackDown, he doesn't need to win the Rumble again.
Nope.
He can be able to win like a number one contenders tournament, or win Elimination Chamber or something like that. So that way you don't have to have Cody win the Rumble again in order to get his rematch with Roman. If he's moved to SmackDown, if he's not moved to SmackDown, the only other way that you can have him get his rematch with Roman is to win like Elimination Chamber or some other number one contender match, and let Gunther or somebody else win the Rumble in January.
Yeah. So but I can just see Cody's the one that gets traded, comes out and says, "See, when I said I cast my chips in, I didn't just do it all for Jey Uso, and I also did it to where I could be closer to finishing the story."
Roman, I'm going to finish the story. I'm coming for you.
Right.
One way or the other, I'm getting my rematch.
Correct. So.
Because he wanted remember right the Raw after Mania, he was like, the only reason you won that match is because of Solo over there who fucking screwed me. I want my rematch. And Roman's like, you're not getting no rematch. So it's like he made it clear. He's like, he knows he got screwed. He wants his rematch. And Brock and everything else has happened has been a side distraction because he's made it clear getting that WWE title is him finishing the story.
Yeah.
So, and
then somehow another LA Knight fits into helping him out with Solo. I don't know, who knows, but yeah, that's just it's fun stuff. It's fun stuff.
I'd be happy if LA Knight gets a U.S. title for a bit.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, that's the only thing to do, but they just need to. They're not rushing LA Knight because they don't want to get them there too quickly, and then they lose some steam.
Right.
They also don't want to screw it up, so they kind of want to keep them on a nice little path.
Yeah, and plus it's just shown with Cody. Cody is despite losing at Mania, he is still mega over. Yeah. The fans still love Cody big time, despite the fact that he didn't win at Mania like he should have, which just about 99% of everybody, wrestling fans, agree at this point. He should have won at Mania.
Yes.
So I'm hoping that they're going to rectify that in Philly next year.
Yep. So
stay tuned.
We shall see. But yeah, Justin, I think that's pretty much it for tonight's show. And y'all, thank you for battling the cold. For helping us here. And even the lights flickered. I mean, we were doing all with every possibility you can. But the show is still going on, folks.
Yeah, I should have gotten kicked off, but I had my internet, my laptop on my personal Wi-Fi hotspot on my phone, because my internet's is having issues currently that a technician is going to be showing up next week and hopefully to fix. So occasionally the connection will cut out at certain times during the day, and I didn't want that to happen while we were doing the show. And it worked out because of the brief power flicker here. I would have gotten kicked out of the show if I had been on my normal Wi-Fi and not on my phone to Wi-Fi. So,
well,
that ended up being the right decision. So
everything happens for a reason on that. So
yeah.
But anything, thank you for joining me, everyone. Please leave in the comments section of anything you want us to talk about next week.
Yes.
We will be here, every Wednesday with between 9 to 10. Just depending on our schedule. We would hope this would be our regular job. Unfortunately, isn't, not yet. But please join us the next time. We always thank you all for joining us, and we will see you all next time.